Good morning to the commercial streams, and happy afternoon, I suppose, if time-appropriate greetings, whatever it is. We're setting up for Coda Radio, episode 546. Mr. Dominic is en route, and I got some clips for us to get into that will give some context to today's episode. We've been streaming for about 15 minutes or so over on Jupiter.tube. We wanted to get online so that way we'd all be here when the show starts, but I invite you to join us over in our chat room. Coder.show/amatrix is probably the easiest way to get there. Coder.show/amatrix, which is just matrix/matrix. All right, anyways, man, now that I made that as difficult as possible, let's catch up on the latest OpenAI news. So we have all the context for today's Coda Radio. We'll go back a couple of days. I'll play a few minutes from CBS's coverage, and then we'll jump. But here's how the story started. Here's how the story ended as of 5 days ago, I should say. Yeah, Tech Watch. Woo-hoo-hoo.
It's been a whirlwind week for the world of artificial intelligence. The CEO of OpenAI, the company that created ChatGPT, was ousted, and now he's back in. It all started last Friday when the board of directors fired Altman. Then investors like Microsoft began pushing for him to be reinstated, but the board resisted. Over the weekend, staff at OpenAI threatened to quit if they didn't bring him back. So on Monday, Microsoft offered him a job. Ashley Gold joins us now. She's a tech and policy reporter at Axios, covering regulators.
Let's pause there. I don't actually think that her analysis was all that great. So I'll switch over to CNBC's analysis, because they raise a really fair question. And that is, well, how now, post all of this, has the power shifted inside OpenAI? That's the right question.
Sam Altman back as CEO of OpenAI, bringing an end to this dramatic standoff and employee revolt days after the board of the startup fired him. Our Deirdre Bosa digs into who's come out on top after all of this, Dee.
Maybe just the end of the beginning, Carl. So the short answer, we still don't really know, but it does certainly look like Microsoft comes out on top. OpenAI can now operate as its research lab and take on the reputational and executional risk for Microsoft. Microsoft doesn't have a board seat, but does it even want one? There's still so many unanswered questions. Now,
does it even need one?
The last few days,
I think that's another question. It clearly did not need a board seat. It maneuvered this perfectly. They swooped in because really they're the piggy bank, and they're still divvying out that cash.
Does it even want one? There's still so many unanswered questions. Now, after all the drama of the last few days, it may feel like we're back to square one. Sam Altman, Greg Brockman back at OpenAI, no mass exodus. It remains a nonprofit with a mission to serve humanity. Microsoft continues to bankroll and benefit from its ambitions, but the power has most definitely shifted, and that will be critical for the future of this organization. 5 days ago, the board was made up of researchers and Silicon Valley insiders largely unknown to the broader public, save Sam Altman himself. Now you've got Quora CEO Adam D'Angelo, the only holdover, and he's joined by two of the most prominent leaders in business and economy, Brett Taylor, former co-CEO of Salesforce, and former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers. According to reports, their initial task is to vet and appoint an expanded board of up to 9 people that will reset governance at OpenAI. And I spoke this morning to an investor in OpenAI who wanted to remain anonymous. They told me that they still don't know what led to Sam Altman's ouster last Friday, but believes it came down to a philosophical debate over the speed of progress. The investor told me they're pleased with the outcome in the initial board, adding, quote, "You can't hide under the guise of a nonprofit and blow things up." They also said they hadn't decided if they'd participate in the latest funding round for OpenAI, led by Thrive Capital, that would value the organization at more than $80 billion. They want to, quote, "get the facts and make sure we understand," which is probably the boat that a lot of existing investors in OpenAI are in at the moment, because there are still plenty of questions, not least of which what really happened, who else is going to join the board, and still how it balances that altruistic charter, which is still there, and potential negative impacts of generative AI with increasingly profitable products. Guys, we still don't really have a resolution to how that plays out. We maybe have people who are capable of figuring that out, maybe a better balance between capitalists and that altruistic side of, researchers that have a really important task to fulfill here as well. But the bottom line, guys, is that this is still structured as a nonprofit.
Yeah, with now a lot of more business people on the board. Two very prominent business folks, plus Sam is not on the board, but clearly keen to make a profit on this. Share your thoughts in the Matrix chat room and help us title this thing. I have started the Titlebot. The Titlebot is active, so you can bang suggest as we go along. And I got another clip for us. This will be the last clip before we get going here. And this is a little bit more on the inside of the whole upset with the board and the researchers, etc.
We're learning more about the ouster and return of OpenAI CEO Sam Altman. Reuters reporting that before the board fired Altman, several staff researchers wrote a letter to the board warning of a powerful artificial intelligence discovery that they said could threaten humanity. Sources telling Reuters that the previously unreported letter and AI breakthrough were key developments ahead of Altman's ouster and factored in to the board's list of grievances with Altman. Other concerns included commercializing these advances before understanding the consequences. The day before Altman was fired, he told world leaders at the APEC summit that he believed major advances were in sight. And Becky, we've been talking about the soap opera for so long, but I mean, a very short soap opera, by the way, given that it happened over the course of 72 hours. But so interesting that now we're hearing that there really was and really is some kind of innovation that may actually make people unnerved. And it appears that Ilya, who was on the board, may have actually been part of that discovery as well. So, but which also goes to the question of, well, what did the board know and what did they didn't know? There are clearly people who on the board who did know some of these things that were happening. But nonetheless, you know, we talk about the robots taking over the world. Clearly somebody saw something, and I don't know if that should make people excited or scared.
I mean, that's a pretty scary contention. As you mentioned, Ilya on the board, also the chief scientist at OpenAI, his concerns that went along with this, and that would make sense as to why the board wasn't talking before, right? Why didn't we hear nothing about why they fired him, what led up to that? Hopefully this will put the idea that this is being reported right now will put a little bit of a slowdown, a pace on some of those things.
I just find all of this ridiculous. What, the thing managed to do some basic 6th grade math? Oh, well, shit, we better panic. Oh, no, it can do 6th grade math? Well, it's going to take over the entire discourse and tell everybody to vote Donald Trump. We better shut this thing down super fast. I mean, it's so ridiculous. And, of course, the media has no way to nuance this thing. They have no idea. So they just take it out their word. That they just take it to the extreme. They dial it up to 11. Oh, they must have seen something that was going to go Skynet. And they didn't want us all to get terminated. So they fired Sam, right? Like it's just the level of discourse is pretty low.
What led up to that? Hopefully, this will put the idea that this is being reported right now will put a little bit of a slowdown, a pace on some of those things. But this has been the big question. You know, they're
also, by the way, there are a bunch of phonies on the CNBC because they love it when this stuff rips. They're bubble hounds. They're constantly all day, every day, looking for a micro bubble, looking for a big bubble, looking for anything that they can jump on and ride that wave. They are bubble surfers. They would love nothing more than for AI to continue to rip so that way they can continue to bring on all the experts, bring on all the investors, bring on all the talking heads and talk about AI. They'd love for it to rip. So I don't even buy that she hopes it slows down. That's the last thing that CNBC and the producers of CNBC
Andrew,
want.
we talked about it earlier in the week, just the idea that if you equate this to the Manhattan Project,
oh
right,
my God,
the development of the nuclear bomb,
oh my God,
this is the scariest thing for humanity that's possibly out there.
What is so scary about it? What is so scary about it? It's not like it's going to write itself some sort of universal operating system and take over every single toaster around the world and cause houses to burn down. Right? It's not going to somehow spread itself through Bluetooth all around the entire world and load alternative operating systems and programs onto every single device. It's not going to do any of these kinds of things. It's not going to create some sort of hive mind. It seems like the actual genuine threat, and I would love to know if you think I'm wrong, please let me know in the chat room. It seems like the genuine threat here is misinformation, and they're just concerned about misinformation. Hello, Mr. Dominic!
Hello.
Hello. Oh, you're close to the mic. You're breathing hard. I'm getting kind of excited over here.
Ooh. Okay.
God, sometimes I watch these CNBC people talk about AI and it gets me so triggered. They just need to, like, I don't know, man. Like, they're talking right now about, basically Skynet and AI, AGI destroying the world. It's just so stupid. It's so stupid.
Yeah, they gotta sell those ads, right?
I suppose. I don't know if it's that or if it's just ignorance. Whoa! Whoa! What was that? Jeez, that came in. Was that a fart? I don't know what that was.
It was
but
a cough.
Bad. It was bad. No, I mean I know the cough. And you're right up in that mic or something. I'm hearing every breath. You're gonna get me all hot and bothered. I can't do the show like this.
How about now?
Oh, sure. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're ready for a show. The title bot has already been started, so you know what to do. You got to get in there and bang suggest as we go along. Something like 3 words or so. Something like that. Okay, and let's see. Do we have soundboard? Soundboard check.
Inappropriate?
We have soundboard. Very good. All right, Mr. Dominic, are you ready over there?
Oui, monsieur.
Okay, chat room, then it is in your sticky, dirty little hands. Please do bang suggest as we go along. Yeah, we're both sounding good today.
Yeah.
Old man radio. Okay, hitting record. Hello, Drew. Mr. Dominic, jump in at 4. if you can survive. 1, 2, 3, 4.
4.
All right. Okay. There may be some coughs this episode, Drew. It may have to get cut out. We'll do our best. All right. It's all in your hands, Sharon. This is Coda Radio, episode 546 for November 27th, 2023. Hey friend, welcome back to Jupiter Broadcasting's weekly talk show, taking a pragmatic look at the art and the business of software development and the world of technology. Over here in Seattle, my name is Chris, and down there in Florida, it's our host, Mr. Dominic. Hello, Mike.
Hello, hello.
Hello, sir. Welcome on in. It's been a really, really busy week. We've been following the news closely. And then just this morning, as we get on the air, Amazon debuts their brand new Workspace Thin client. They've basically repackaged the Fire TV Cube with its like 2.2 gigahertz ARM processor and 2 gigs of RAM, and they're making it a thin client for the Amazon remote desktop workspace stuff. And they say, we've built an entirely new software stack for the device, and since we didn't have to design and build new hardware, we're passing those savings along to the customer, which means it's just under $200.
Yeah.
It's back. Are you excited to see thin clients back, Mike? When you bring on a hire, or maybe it's a contractor for like a 6-month stint, you could just send them a cube now.
I've never been a fan of this. It's just a lot of work to get everything up and running and to manage the virtual environments. And certainly, I looked at this a little bit when it came out this morning. It certainly seems like there's quite a bit of lock-in here. So that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, this is a cycle we keep running, right? Every, 10 years or so, we have to go back to, actually, you just need a thin client.
I can't tell are you sick and your voice sounds weird, or is it the audio that's off? I can't tell.
I'm sick and I've been hearing it all day.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, man, that's bad.
Yeah.
That's bad. Yeah, I've always been a big fan of this idea, but at a local scale. I actually think it's kind of brilliant for a local shop on a LAN with Ethernet to have one powerful box and replace 4 or 5 of some of the basic workstations, not the high-end stuff, but some of the basic workstations with a thin client. And then, because it's just every 5 years or so, you're upgrading that central server. You can keep the thin clients, keep the monitors, keep the keyboard and mice, and you don't have to shell out the money for all new machines every 5 years. And those machines aren't very demanding. So I'd love to see this become more common and standardized, but I don't like this direction of it, where it's kind of just a piece of hardware is built for one cloud provider. That seems wasteful to me.
Yeah, it seems strange, right? Because wouldn't you think your thin client could be, just Chrome in any computer?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that was my thought too. It's so funny that they just like, yeah, AWS is technically a separate company now, but we're just taking the Fire TV Cube from another division inside Amazon, and we're using that.
Is AWS separate?
Yeah, they technically are their own sub whatever company. I'm blanking on the name, but a subsidiary. Thank you myself. Yeah, AWS recently became Amazon Web Services Inc. became a subsidiary of Amazon. But I'm sure those lines are pretty blurred. David wrote into the show, and he's asking for our take on AGI, I think. He says, can you give us your thoughts on AGI, artificial general intelligence? I don't see it anywhere on the horizon. I certainly am not seeing it in ChatGPT, but things are moving so fast, maybe it's coming. Now, AGI, I think just so we have a general common set of agreement of terms, is like AI that can kind of think for itself. Maybe it can do some basic math. It can learn and adapt on its own, whereas a large language model has to be trained against a set of data, and then you train it again and you train it again, whereas an AGI, in theory, could sort of self-learn as it goes along.
Right, so not ChatGPT.
Right. It'd be great if ChatGPT could. What are your thoughts on the likelihood that we're going to see AGI this year?
0.
Really? Even with all of this Q-Star drama coming out of OpenAI?
Yeah, 0. No way.
Oh, I love this spicy. Of course, wait. Well, I guess this year. I mean, the next 12 months, not in 2023.
Still 0.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see it. It's in fact, I know this is our main topic today, and I'm sure some people are getting bored with all the AI topics, but it is in the news, right? The level of pearl clutching on this is frankly maddening to me.
Around AGI?
Right. It's confusing technology for magic in a lot of ways, right? They think that, it's almost as if that, Sam Altman or some dude in Google or wherever is going to get the right incantation out of the Egyptian Book of the Dead, and all of a sudden Anubis, the AI agent, is going to be summoned, and 2 steps to Skynet.
I honestly, I cannot figure out what the, quote, humanity-threatening angle of AGI is. So David asked a good question here, because this has been the big debate, right? And the big debate is that AGI is so dangerous that we have to slow it down. We have to fire Sam because it's so dangerous. But, we have some details here, and the details, Mike, they don't impress. I think before we get to that, alderon.games/coder. Head on over there, guys. They're looking for remote workers that listen to this show. They're hiring. Full ad in the released version if you want more details, or go to alderon.games/coder. Altman teased at a summit in San Francisco, the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit that you may have heard about, the one they cleaned up the streets for. And this is what he said. Quote, 4 times now in the history of OpenAI, the most recent time was just in the last couple of weeks, I've gotten to be in the room when we sort of push the veil of ignorance back and the frontier of discovery forward. And getting to do that is the professional honor of a lifetime. And people have taken that to insinuate he was talking about AGI. And reportedly, this AGI system is called Q-Star from within OpenAI. And reportedly, some researchers wrote a letter to the board sort of panicking about the imminent, quote, humanity-threatening danger, end quote, that this Q-Star system would propose. And supposedly now, it goes, that this is the discussion that ultimately led to the board deciding to fire Sam. As we've been told, the board is there to maintain safety, right? Sam wasn't on the board, so we had this check and balances system. And the check and balances system fired and said, we got a problem here. So according to the leaks coming out of OpenAI, Mike, you're wrong. They're in fact, it's so close, it's, quote, humanity threatening, and they had to fire Sam over it.
Yeah, I read that too. One, an advancement doesn't mean you went from 0 to HAL 9000, right? I'm sorry, I just don't buy it. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, and it will be the Cylons. I'm running out of sci-fi robots here.
The board.
Maybe the Cylon.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
I think it's more likely that they made some progress.
Yeah.
And it's all a little overhyped because, a lot of egos get involved, right? I think from a lot of the reporting, we can see that, yes, there was this concern, but there was also quite a bit of just straight up good old fashioned power struggle, right? Just like good old down home mama's apple pie capitalist board struggle. And look, maybe there's some classified bunker, likely in Beijing, that has the HAL 9000.
That's not my sense.
That's not my sense. My sense is that this, my sense is, I was actually going to do a topic today, but I just felt like crap this morning. My sense is that really the industry has slowed down quite a bit. And the Sam Altman story, while hilarious and stupid, is kind of really a very basic misalignment of people's incentives. And honestly, we've seen it with a bunch of the Linux-oriented foundations too. Not necessarily the Linux Foundation, but a bunch of them. You get a lot of big egos in the room, a lot of money on the line.
Yep, somebody's in it for the free software, somebody else is in it for the commercial capabilities.
Right, you have your Unix beards, and then you have your guys who are like, guys, we need to make money.
Yeah.
Right, and there's this whole
I think what we were just kind of put on display and seeing, we all got to watch, is what they told us all along, that the board was in charge and they were maintaining safety, while Sam went out and scared every world leader that would have a meeting with him and testified in front of every type of Congress that would have him to scare them all into regulating AI. And so while he was there promising that OpenAI would be one of the responsible ones that could be involved in the regulation discussion because we had this special structure with the board, which is how he was selling it the entire time, it turns out that was all completely bogus. And when things got spooky and they were afraid and they pulled the safety alarm, what we really learned is all of that was bullshit, and that Microsoft was able to just come right in because money is the influence, and they're divvying this money out in chunks, not all at once, and money was the real kingmaker here, and they reversed this entire thing. And now they have two heavy hitter commercial dudes like Larry Summers on the board. Only one of the original board members is left, and you got Sam, who isn't on the board, but he's now back as CEO, and he clearly wants to commercialize this thing. And then you got Microsoft, who's still in the room. So everybody who was concerned about the safety aspects of this essentially lost in this power struggle.
Yeah, I mean, and that's giving them a ton of credit and saying their concerns were the only issue they had.
Right.
I mean, I tend to think that this, like all other nonsense, and particularly open source projects, starts off with a legitimate disagreement and ends up just being, well, fuck that guy, right? It just ends up being about personalities.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I
think it's, well, this is my job, this is my duty, and it goes from that into a personal thing.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but so if you're not buying the AGI thing very much, like if that's a pretty weak hand, and I don't think I'm buying it either, then it kind of unravels the entire narrative we've been told here. Everything kind of falls apart. From the structure of the company being basically a bogus structure, but also, it's just an extremely tidy narrative. It's just a little too tidy. And the narrative is that we develop something incredible. So, A, they're way ahead of everybody else in the industry. They're beyond even what some people can conceptualize at this point. So that's how far ahead they are. So that's how good they are. B, they were trying to be extra crazy, duper, super safe. Of course, it went a little sideways, but they were trying really hard, right? Like, this whole thing is very, very tidy because it makes them look like massive innovators. It makes them look like the safety concern came up, and it positions Microsoft fantastically in the market now. And I don't think the Microsoft aspect was planned or any of this, but it just feels like if you look at everybody who controls the information and is putting out there what happened, everybody's incentivized to have this nice, tidy excuse. And I don't buy it as much. It's a too tidy of an excuse, and something feels off about it. From the structure never working in the first place, to Altman's motivations all along, to the fact that what we're to take away from this entire thing is that the OpenAI people are some sort of super geniuses that are 20 years ahead of Google, and that they were trying to be super duper safe. And it just, everybody comes off looking like aces here, and I'm not buying it.
Yeah, I mean, and what, there's certainly some boobery here, right? I'm not saying it was like 3-level chess, but this does reinforce the whole agenda they've had, which is the same thing Facebook tried and failed, right? Oh, let us help you write the regulations because we're the biggest. We know how to do it. And if you don't, all these, right? You notice the word safety and responsible keep coming up. What that really means is big.
Yeah.
Right. This is about getting some regulation in place under the guise of, Skynet, I guess. I think the real, more serious arguments that are less good, though, right, that are more transparently anti-free speech are the elections and AI Facebook ads could be bad. I also kind of give the average person a little more credit than that. So I don't know. This is, if I was Sam Altman, I'd probably be trying to do the same thing, right? I have the lead. How do I keep my lead? Well, I get these hippies off my board, right? First thing, get the beards out, or put them in employee positions where they just have to kind of take their marching orders. And I would definitely want to regulate a moat around myself.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think that is the plan. I would love to hear, not the audience, although you're welcome to, but I would love to hear Sam articulate the risks around AGI specifically. And I'm so sick of vague.
Well, he has.
What?
He has, right? So when he talks, he doesn't talk about Skynet, like the bullshit you'll hear on CNN.
Yeah.
He's very open and because he's, he knows the politicians. He basically it's Trump, right? It's an election.
Oh, so it's misinformation, election interference. Right. Okay.
And that is, I mean, if I was selling it and I wanted the smoke, you automatically have 50% of Congress with that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And then you get kind of the, let's be honest, stupid congressmen who maybe just look good and were able to get, I'm thinking of a number of congressmen, possibly from my neck of the woods, that have no business there, but are dumb enough to believe that there's Skynet.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
yeah. I see. So I see. It's kind of it feels like a lot of manipulation. So speaking of this risk, this is another trend that it's now moving so fast that I can't really keep track of it for the show anymore. But it's essentially regulation by bureaucrats, not through any kind of voting mechanism. Britain, the U.S., and other countries have inked an agreement to make AI secure by design. It's a 20-page document unveiled this Sunday, on a Sunday. It's 18 countries in total that have agreed that companies designing AI need to develop and deploy it in a way that keeps customers and the wider public safe from misuse. Here's a quote. "This is the first time that we have seen an affirmation that these capabilities should not just be about cool features and how quickly we can get them to market or how we can compete to drive down costs." They told Reuters that the guidelines represent, quote, "an agreement that the most important thing that needs to be done at the design phase is security." What I took away from this, because it's just kind of like a non-binding agreement. So it's basically all these countries just getting together saying that AI safety is important. But what I found fascinating is the sort of the way it's presented. Quote, "an affirmation that these capabilities should not just be about cool features and how quickly we can get them to market or how we can compete to drive down costs," end quote. And that's said as a positive thing because of safety and, being responsible. But if I were to put on my capitalist small business hat for a moment, what it sounds like is stifling an industry before it's even actually got its own legs, right? Like I look at the U.S. economy and think, well, what's really going to make money in tech over the next couple of years? AI has a great shot of really ripping if they can deliver on sound products that meet market demands. But in order to do that, they're going to have to innovate a lot harder and faster. They're not quite there. And in order to close that last 10%, it's going to be a lot of work. Now, how does an industry innovate at market scale if they're constantly being constrained by their state government, by their federal government, by whatever it might be, by their local government, who's always constantly looking over it and requiring you to go get an auditor, which is, like an inspector, who's going to cost a certain amount and then certify that your code's safe. Like, these types of things are essentially preemptively stifling what could have been a tech boom, which our economy could very much use coming into the next year. And it just seems like we're just immediately, before we've even got this thing on its legs, we're holding it down and tying it back. I mean, besides all of the pearl clutching that you have mentioned, we're also stifling this at a commercial level that we've never done to software development ever before. And I look at this and think we're making multiple really kind of like breaking mistakes at the beginning of this. Imagine if this kind of muddling was going on during the early development of the internet and TCP/IP, and we had safety and we had all these kinds of rules and 18 countries signing safety agreements around where IP packets can go and what they can be and can't do.
Well, I think that's exactly the case they're trying to avoid. Right? It seems like these folks see that as a mistake.
Right. It's their chance to fix the mistake of the internet, that they weren't hip to the internet and it got by them.
Right. I mean, when I read this morning, it really popped out to me that from these kind of regulatory perspectives, government perspectives, the ideal relationship for really the whole tech industry is the one they have with the telco industry, where, man, Verizon just will give them whatever they want.
Yeah,
they don't even have to serve them a warrant.
I just saw a couple of weeks ago, another Snowden-esque story about how AT&T has these rooms everywhere for the federal government. It's still going on. 20 years later, it's still going on.
Come in, they don't know what they're taking, they don't know what they're looking at. It's and that is making kind of steel manning their argument. Hey man, we've got like a missing kid, right? And you know what? I don't want to wait to deal with Apple's bitchy lawyers who are going to talk some shit about encryption.
Right. And you don't want.
I want to walk into the AT&T.
You don't want misinformation. You actually don't want misinformation.
Well, right. It's the same thing. It's now. I think that. I mean, if we look at our good friends in the EU, who we obviously love, they're trying to throw people in jail for saying things that are, let's say, not nice, right? That's the extreme version of this. I don't know, man. I think I think they're going to get it, right? Because the only vendors who are going to have this are going to be OpenAI, which, let's be honest, may not be Microsoft's husband or wife, but it's certainly a side piece at least. And it's going to be Google to a lesser extent, but Google has already shown a willingness to cave. Apple has had a little more of a backbone, but the minute that interferes with margins, that's it. And Apple's not really doing this type of thing. So it seems to me that this is just learning the lesson that really began in the late 80s, early 90s of if the network is truly distributed and anybody can have a node and anybody can, do what they want to do, it's actually super hard for them to do the surveillance things they want to do. Think about how, oh my God, I'm dating myself here. Remember when you used to be able to buy domains like anonymously or with fake names all the time? Bullshit addresses and everything.
Forever ago.
Yeah, now Hover's like all over my ass because I own so many domains. They're like constantly sending me verification things.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's, let's talk about banking, right? It used to be more or less you could do your banking. Now it's all this KYC stuff.
Definitely. So, or, even if you just want to, maybe you're going to go buy a washer and dryer. I got to call my bank and beg to have access to more of my money. And I call in and they're like, okay, and what will you be using this for? And how long do you need it? And I'm like, I don't want to.
Right. It's like calling your dad and being like, may I?
Yeah. I don't like that sensation at all. And
no, I don't like it.
I don't want that with my new tech. I don't. And here's what I've noticed. So when I was down at Adopting Bitcoin, I saw two different communities were working on their own large language models for their local community. And one was like, the group wanted it to have a very specific political bias, and they didn't like the political bias of the existing large language models. And so they wanted something that answered from their point of view. And then another one is called the Spirit of Satoshi, and it's being designed for the Bitcoin community. So it has like an Austrian economics point of view, and it has, it's been extensively trained on Bitcoin information. So it's like hyper-focused on that community. And I think you're going to see more of this. You're going to see more and more localized large language models that are, they're not big giant systems that can connect all these different APIs with all these plugins that can order you a coffee while it books you a flight, that gets you a taxi to take you to a hotel room to go to a stadium. But, it'll know a lot about Bitcoin, or it'll know a lot about Clojure, or it'll know a lot about Rust. You're going to have like these localized large language models, I think, as a response to these large ones essentially being preemptively captured by government.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, a really interesting question. Let's say you're in Ireland or the UK, where they have some of these, I would say, kind of insane speech laws. And I don't know, you're a little drunk, right? You're doing whatever, you're screwing around, and you make a meme that's slightly off color. Not threatening to kill anybody, not like an actual threat, but, like, I don't like, you know what? BSD users are idiots. There's your meme, right? Well, you've taken a group, I know this is a bad example, but right, any group of people in the UK and in Ireland, they're proposing you could go to prison just for that. Just think about any like drunken argument you've gotten into as like an 18-year-old is now a felony, effectively, or their version of a felony, right? Now what you type into your search boxes or to your chat GPT prompt. And if this stuff goes through, the AI vendors are either going to have to self-report what you're doing, right, with the uniquely identifiable user ID, or it's simply going to be like the telcos, where, the men in black just come in and read all the phone data.
I think
so yeah, everybody gets to go to jail.
It's a good time to have a self-hosted podcast, I think. Because just
yeah, but your host can rat you out too. That doesn't even work anymore.
No, I mean, host it yourself on your land,
off the grid, satellite internet, yes,
solar, satellite. Go with your Elon link. Yeah. Well, I look at this all and I think something feels a bit off. So, audience, if you've got your own theories, or if you think we're off on our theories, boost in or let us know at coder.show/contact. Because to me, I feel like we still, A, haven't gotten the full picture of why Sam was fired, and B, it's such a very tidy excuse. So am I off on that, or do you see it a different way? Let us know. It's always a great reason to boost in. Oh, tailscale.com/coder. Speaking of the privacies, go get a VPN protected by WireGuard. That's what I'm talking about for 100 devices over at tailscale.com/coder. Well, after all these years, even when I've gotten to near Linux desktop utopia, I still feel like I am struggling with some of the most basic stuff that just kind of makes me want to throw in the hat sometimes. Can I share a bit of desktop Linux woes with you that maybe I can get some ideas from the audience, but you mind if I vent?
This is a safe Docker container. Yes.
Thank you. So I got an oldish rig. It's like an i7 5820K with 12 cores. It's got a really old Radeon RX 570 in there, 64 gigs of RAM, and I'm running NixOS 2305, of course, with the Genome desktop. And I have had this ongoing problem for about a year that really wrecks what is otherwise my perfect setup. And it is really stupid. I can't seem to find a functioning web browser for Linux, at least on this machine. I got lots of machines that don't have this problem, but on this machine, I got a problem. It all starts just over a year ago when I decided I was going to give up Chrome because I didn't like the direction they're going with the manifest stuff and all that. Switched to Firefox and was very happy. Working really well. I think I kind of picked a sweet spot in the Firefox trajectory. Was working for almost a year, and then an update came along. And all of a sudden, randomly when I would interact with the Firefox UI, the browser would completely crash. It would just dump. And I often would have 3 or 4 monitors with Firefox windows on all of them. Some of them would have multiple tabs, and it would fail to restore them properly. And it bit me a couple of times when I was filling out a form for something, and I was like, okay, that's it. I can't use Firefox, at least not for my active browsing. I can leave it up on a monitor with a page like a dashboard, and I can leave it there for 3 days, and it'll be fine. But if I interact with the UI too much, it'll dump. All right, well, so I don't want to switch back to Chrome, but this is right around the time when the Bing chatbot came out. I'll try Edge because they're actually pretty good about supporting some desktop Linux standards. They got this new chatbot thing. It's Chromium based, so some of the sites that I've been wanting to use that work better with Chrome. Okay, yeah, all right, I'll go to Edge. So I switched to Edge. It's going pretty good. Pretty happy. I get all signed in. I got my stuff all synced. Until one day, when my machine boots up, it auto logs in. And the Nextcloud client, if I don't authorize and unlock the GNOME keychain fast enough, the Nextcloud client will say, hey, I need to authorize. I haven't logged in yet. I need the keychain open so that way I can authorize. And then if you then don't enter the password, say a couple of minutes goes by, maybe you're downstairs making coffee, it'll fire up your default browser and send you to your Nextcloud instance to now authorize the Nextcloud client. The problem is, if Edge gets launched before the keyring has been unlocked, Edge loses its mind. It drops its state on everything. It's like the first time you've ever launched the browser. You're signed out of everything, so you're going to spend the entire morning re-signing in, two-factor into absolutely everything, because God forbid Edge launched before you unlock the GNOME keyring. This bit me like 3 times, and that was it. I was out. I couldn't make it work. So now I'm on Chrome again. Chrome seemed like it was working pretty good. So I've gone from Chrome to Firefox to Edge, now back to Chrome. Things are going pretty well. I'm on it for about 2 months. And then the more recent Chrome update, the one we covered on the show, came out. And when that came out, from that point forward, nothing that the browser renders is comprehensible. It's all just symbols and garbage. Like the bookmarks menu's fine, the file menu's fine, but like anything that's rendered by the browser engine is just symbols and garbage. And, this is after a couple of months. I finally capitulated. I've gone back to Chrome. I got it all set up. I'm all logged in. I'm using it. I'm bookmarking again. I'm all in. And it updates. And now all I get is garbage. Now, this doesn't happen on any of my other systems, but in the most important workstation I have, this is what happens. So now I'm on the Chrome Developer Edition, the Chrome Dev channel, which is no doubt going to bite me in the butt somehow, but currently renders text. And I'm wondering if other people have experienced this. I've experimented with Wayland versus X11. It doesn't really seem to make much of a difference. I do normally just run everything in Wayland, and I have got Chrome set to run in Wayland. I've tried it with X. Didn't make a difference. It feels like I have built a supercomputer workstation, right? I got multiple monitors going. It's fast. I got a big disk array in there where I can run VMs and have Scratch for editing, and I have tons of storage and 64 gigs of RAM. It's running really solid with NixOS. I can roll back if anything gets weird, so the desktop is really solid. But yet, I can't just get a basic effing web browser to work. And it's so frustrating.
Yeah, that sounds terrible. The only, I guess, silver lining is if it's working in the dev channel, presumably that update comes to stable soon. Right.
That's what I'm thinking. It's like maybe in a month or two or something, or like when dev finally bites me in the butt, I go back to Chrome stable.
And it'll just happily work.
And this, I think, is kind of like the Linux paradox in one particular anecdote. Right, where you can have this monster system that is so configured and dialed in and tuned perfectly for your workflow, but like super basic thing that's been solved in desktop computing for a decade is going to plague you. And it used to be Wi-Fi, it used to be this power and sleep. And now it's like, I think it's some of these heavy graphical applications because we're in this X11 Wayland transition and these developers are not super focused on Linux, and there's bumps, There's bumps, especially when you're on the, with Chrome, you're always on the leading edge, I suppose. But, I look over at that MacBook and I think, am I just fooling myself? Am I just like a glutton for punishment? Should I just grab that MacBook, fire it up, and just make it my desktop and just not deal with this shit? But then I just think then I'm really, really just getting hooked on Apple. And it's like the deeper I get into that, like the harder it's going to be to get out when they inevitably rug. So it's like, why slide back, right? I feel like I'd be sliding back.
I think you just got to wait for the update.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so far the dev channel hasn't really bit me, so. Anyways, if you've experienced this, dear audience, my God, let me know what you did to fix it. If you were able to fix it, please, because it drives me crazy. I want to also take a moment and thank our members, the Coder QA crew at coderqa.co. We still have the Black Friday going for a little bit longer where it takes $2 off for a year. You can support the show that way. You get an ad-free version of the show, and you get the Coderly, which I presume, the holiday schedule's crazy, but I presume if we can, we're going to try to get a holiday Coderly out there for y'all, too. Who knows? Between getting sick all the time and the holidays, we have pre-records we'll have to do coming up, because I think one of our episodes lands on Christmas. So, this year, the holiday train hits us hard. We get lucky some years. Not this year. But if you want to support the show directly, help make our audience the biggest customer, give a little value back to the show, and keep us going, especially in the ad winter, we always appreciate that baseline over there at coderqa.co. Thank you, everybody.
Ask not what your podcast can boost for you, but what you can boost for your podcast.
Well, Ben went over to getalby.com, topped it off, and hit the podcast index, and he is our baller booster this week with 99,709 sats. Says, well, I fell a couple of months behind on my, quote, subscription boosts with the recent move, so consider this catching up. It's a zip code boost, but I'll save you the hassle. It's from Fairbanks, Alaska. Well, hello, Fairbanks.
Nice.
One day I shall travel to Fairbanks. I don't know why. I just got the Alaska bug. I really want to get there. I'd love to do it in a camper truck or a van, or take a ferry up there and then get an Airbnb. Any way I could get there, I'd love to do it.
And then we can throw a Frisbee across to our Russian neighbors.
Yeah.
Right from our house.
Yeah. Thank you, Ben, for the support, and thank you for being our baller this week. Really appreciate it. Now, how do you pronounce this one? How to pronounce well, that doesn't help. I asked Google to do an AI generated how to pronounce it. It just gave me nothing.
Pronouncenames.com.
Leon.
Okay. All right. Leo A comes in with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sats. Yep, you guessed it. Spaceballs boost.
So the combination is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the stupidest combination I ever heard in my life.
Now, he says, how'd y'all talk about SBF taking the witness stand without also recalling that the file system developer Hans Reiser also testified at his own murder trial? History rhymes. Oh, yeah.
Damn, yeah, I'd forgotten about this. Definitely not the same thing, murdering your wife versus just some jaunty crypto fraud, but this was a bad one
for both of them. It was bad for both of them when they took the stand. Not good.
This is a really bad story. If you want to look into it, go ahead more. I'm not going to dive into it, but this basically a guy gets in an argument with his estranged wife and decides to kill her.
Yeah.
So
what we can tell. Yeah. Margie also comes in with a Spaceballs boost.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, that's amazing. I've got the same combination on my luggage.
He's using Castamatic, and he says, high on-chain fees this week had me only able to use the sats in my Alby wallet, so boom, here they are. Keep fighting the good fight. Another great episode. You both appreciated. Everyone in the media acted like the recent OpenAI debacle was all about following Sam, but really it was about following the money, as always. Appreciate you guys. Don't have the herd level takes, Marchie. Thank you, Marchie. Yeah, to pat ourselves on the back for just a moment, I know I really shouldn't do this, but I can't resist because it's so juicy. We had to record that coder on Monday. We record on Mondays, sometimes Tuesdays, and the episode gets published on Wednesday. So the drama comes down on all weekend long. Monday morning, right before the market opens, Satya makes the announcement that Sam's been hired. We're recording basically after that announcement. We've got no other information to go on. And we go on the air and say, I don't think it's going to stick. I don't think Sam's going to stay at Microsoft. I think he's going back to OpenAI. And then it publishes on Wednesday, and that's what happened.
That's what happened.
I was like, phew. Oh, that could have gone a way different direction for us.
See, we either got lucky or we've been around the block a few times.
Yeah.
Or a little bit of both.
Yeah, something like that. R. Hine comes in with 4,506 sats using Cast-O-Matic, which is great on iOS. He says, I'm a first-time booster. Hey-o! Thank you very much. You know what you get? Pew, pew, pew. You get a special pew-pew. He says, thanks for the Strike recommendation. Yeah, Strike is on the Lightning Network, and it's now available in like 36 countries. Great way to top off Alby or Podcast 2.0 app. He says, I use RHEL a lot in operation technology environments. I love the shows. I just wish I had to drive to work more often so I could catch up. Yeah, we are the commuter's friend, Mike. That is very true.
It's true.
Yeah, and people, although you know what? That just means you're probably not walking enough. Maybe you're not doing enough chores. You know, if you're doing chores and walking, you can catch up on the show. He says it's a zip code boost, but when I search for 4506, I don't get any results. It says no results found. So you'll have to boost in and let us know what I got wrong. And tell us a little more about using RHEL in production and how that's been going. So we had 4 boosters this week, but we stacked 128,905 sats.
Stacks.
Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate that. It's not a record breaker, but it's still very much appreciated, and it's a great way to independently support the show with no middleman, no weird intermediary person that's going to change over to Ireland and suddenly make everybody get their cards rejected. Nothing strange like that. Just you, me, and the sats. If you'd like to boost in, we got links in the show notes for that. Mr. Dominic, is there anywhere you want to send the people? Are you going to be very busy this week? It sounds like you should go back to bed.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be, actually, I'm closing my physical office this week, finally.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, yes, save some money. I haven't been there in about 3 months. But other than that, I think I'm going to have to take some Dayquil or something.
Yeah. I always think about selling the physical space, but with audio, being able to control the environment and having a space where people can come and we can do interviews, oh my gosh, it's so like valuable that when I do record on the road or when I record from home, like I really appreciate having that physical space, but you don't have that kind of situation.
No, in fact, it's louder there, right? We've done the test.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
they have like a contracting construction company next door that's always banging on shit in the back. So
I think a lot of people are in your position. A lot of
it's
folks.
not worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really not.
Yeah.
Where can you find me this week? I guess Weapon X at Dumunuko. I'm probably going to be a little offline, catching up on work and
we
trying
should
to kick the plague.
We should pencil in next week is the Babylon 5 debate.
Yes, I need a little more spice and vigor for it because I know my shields are going to have to be way up.
I feel like I should study the enemy a bit more. So.
Okay, Trekkie.
I got to analyze my target. Got to know the soft spots.
The soft spot would be ratings.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'd love your feedback, so you can always boost in or go to coder.show/contact. Links to what we talked about today will be at coder.show/546. There's lots of great shows over at jupiterbroadcasting.com, like Linux Unplugged and the Self-Hosted podcast. New stuff coming out all the time over there. Yeah, I'm on Weapon X at Chris LAS. The whole network's at Jupiter Signal, and the podcast is at Coder Radio Show. Follow us if you like to get announcements about releases. Follow me if you want to know when we go live. But the real action, that's at coder.show/matrix. That's our chat room. Also, our RSS feeds and all that are on the website. I just want to say thank you very much for listening. Thank you for taking a moment to share the podcast. We really appreciate you. And you're welcome to join us live next week at Monday, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern.
Oh my God.
Thank you, Drew. All stop. All right. So before we go, we got to get our gosh darn title. So how about a little coffee jazz music to go vote? Yeah. You like that? Ha ha ha.
Here we are counting down the heads. I can't even do the voices right now. Just like,
Well,
you know, man, I don't know what the hell happened to me. I was fine yesterday. I woke up.
Uh-oh. Boom.
And, Dave was like, you sound like a chipmunk.
Yeah, it's funny. I thought for a second, I was like, uh-oh. Do we have an audio problem? No, I think he's just sick.
I've been on Googles and Zooms for a good part of this morning. Actually, thank God the folks didn't show up from Australia. But I've been told, are you okay? Is your mic?
Yeah, something's probably swollen or something.
I think so. You know what? I was with my kid was with the kiddos, the cousins and everything.
Oh, it's constant now. It's constant now. It literally.
Oh, I know.
I mean, it's always been bad. It's always been bad, but it feels like it's literally constant. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I got in a tiff with a doctor friend of mine. She was claiming that I used to take all these supplements, and she said you just have very expensive urine. So I stopped taking them, and I feel like I'm dying every couple weeks now. I think I'm going back. I'm giving those questionable hippies my money.
Yeah, and doctors are always very, very skeptical of supplements, but
I used to do echinacea, and I used to do elderflower, and a bunch of like herbal teas. And on top of that, I would take an emergency twice a week.
Oh, there you go. I bet you that
I was
alone.
really like amping it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, closed AI. I put in a very tidy excuse.
Swift is greater than Objective-C.
Cleaning excuse our mess, which is a nice old reference. This ain't a clean board. Air cleaning. I don't think I'm in love with any of them. You know,
kind of like Open Drama, but
where's that one?
It's a Circus Freak, second to last.
I don't know if I like it only because there might be some people who are like, oh, I don't want to hear about drama. I couldn't care.
No, that's true. They'll think we're bitching out about some.
Yeah, or just oh, drama. No, not for me. But otherwise, I do think it's clever.
I mean, closed AI isn't bad either. I kind of want AI in it, just because I don't know unless they do something boobish again next week that we'll be covering this again.
I hope. I would love to have something else be in the news for.
I was looking for like major language changes, and there's not. A lot
Me too.
on.
I went on a fishing expedition this morning looking for really any kind of development related news at all.
Something's. I mean, we could do a whole episode on that. Something's going on where things are either they're so proprietary now, which I think may be it. There's just not a lot of exciting news from the community.
Yeah, well, I just wonder if it's just the lens gets turned on. It's like the hose went from, it's all on AI, like the money, the media lens, everything. It's all just on AI.
Well, that, and we should be fair, a lot of these media companies are like doing massive layoffs.
Yep, that too.
Like I've noticed my favorite website, The Verge, the level of content coming out and just the quantity of content is significantly lower than it used to be.
Yeah, I've seen that across the board too.
Yeah, just about everywhere, right? I think, is Giga gone?
He's still tweeting. Ohm is, but yeah.
Oh, someone's gone. I know TechCrunch, everything's behind their stupid paywall now. Anything you might actually want to read. So, and I refuse to give Mike Harrington money. So there's that.
Yeah, he is such a twat.
I don't know. What do you think?
I don't like any of them, really.
You're like, I hate them all.
Yeah. Only reason I went with a very tight excuse is because I said it in the show. But I think
let's do a very tidy excuse. It's generic enough.
Okay.
People...
All right. I do. Yeah, I would rather have AI in the title, but yeah, I don't see one I like a lot. So, all right. Well, go take care of yourself. Get lots of fluid.
Yep. Next week.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
All right. Bye,
Mr.
chat room.
Dominic. Have a good week.
I'm gonna go make some tea. Bye.
Thank you, chat room. Thank you for hanging out with us. If you're watching on the peer tubes or the commercial streams, thank everybody for joining us in the chat room that made it. If you'd like to join us next time, it's coder.show/matrix for that. All right, I'm getting out of here. I had a good time hanging out with you. It's always nice to get the live vibe. It is a self-hosted week, so self-hosted will be out later this week. And then Linux Unplugged on Sunday. All right, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. No, don't take it personal, Eric. I also tried. Sometimes you just don't have a good title day. Maybe it's a reflection on the episode. We'll see. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for being here.
Sometimes I feel like I'm the Commodore 64.